Last week we talked about how towns and cities in Kansas grew to make Kansas the state that we live in now. This week I want us to focus on the people that not only changed Kansas, but changed the world. So the first person that I'm going to look into is Amelia Earhart, and I have this great book, and it's called I Am Amelia Earhart. Okay, it is written by Brad Meltzer. Now, this book isn't just facts about Amelia Earhart. It's actually written that Amelia Earhart is a child telling other children, like you guys, what she did growing up and how she worked to change the world. So, I am Amelia Earhart. When I was little, people told me that girls should wear dresses and play with dolls. They said we shouldn't have unladylike adventures. I didn't agree. In fact, when I was 7 years old, my sister and I decided to build our own roller coaster in our backyard. We placed 2 planks of wood up against the side of our tool shed. The cab was a wooden packing box with roller skate wheels attached to the bottom. We greased the wood with lard so it'd move super fast. Amelia, are you sure this is a good idea? This isn't a good idea, it's the best idea. Of course, I got to ride first. This is my moment. Here we go, in 3, 2. I still remember the wind in my face. My stomach seemed to sink. I was flying. Amelia Earhart, take it apart this instant. That was awesome. The crash was loud and noisy and messy. It certainly wasn't ladylike, but it was awesome. It wasn't the last time I would fly. As I got older, I went to many air shows. When I was 23 years old, but still a kid at heart, my dad took me to meet Frank Hawks, a man who would eventually set many of his own flight records. For $10, Hawks agreed to take me on my very first flight. For 10 minutes, we flew over the sky and out over the Pacific Ocean. By the time I was 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew one thing. I had to fly. To save for my flying lessons, I worked as a truck driver, which wasn't ladylike either, a stenograph, which is a fancy smancy word for someone who writes down what people say, and even a photographer. 6 months after I learned to fly, I bought a bright yellow used biplane that I named Canary. Canary is a cool name for a plane, right? This is my instructor, a woman named Netta Snook. That's her real name. But here's my secret. I wasn't a natural. I wasn't the best pilot. I just worked harder than anyone else. Most important, like the day on the roller coaster, I dare to do what so many said couldn't be done. A girl flying across the Atlantic? Amelia, are you sure this is a good idea? This isn't a good idea, it's the best idea. I became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and then the first woman to fly by myself across the Atlantic Ocean. Back then, people took boats to get to Europe, sailing for weeks. Planes were still a new thing. In fact, on the day I took off, one magazine ran an article that said, Women would never be able to fly that far. To do it, I had to fly for 14 hours and 56 minutes with no rest, no break. Sometimes the sun was so blinding, I could barely see where I was going. In the process, I also broke the record for crossing the ocean in the shortest time, doing it faster than any man or woman ever. Then I broke an altitude record, which is just a fancy smancy way of saying I went higher than anyone else. How high did I go? About 12 Empire State Buildings straight up at a time when no woman had ever gone that high. In my life, I took many flights. Every single time, there was someone who said I wouldn't be able to do it. Never let anyone stop you. Whatever your dream is, chase it. Work hard for it. You will find it. It is the best lesson I can give you. I am Amelia Earhart. I know no bounds. And I hope you'll remember that the greatest flight you'll ever take is the one no one has tried before. And then there's a picture of the real Amelia Earhart, not cartoonish. So, Amelia Earhart, here's some more pictures of her life. She was born in Kansas. Does anyone know what town Amelia Earhart was born in? Atchison, Kansas, right. Perfect. I'm going to show just a short little video. It does not have any sound, but it's a video as Amelia departs for her first solo flight across the Atlantic on May 20th, 1932. So it's going to show Amelia, it's going to show her plane, and it's going to kind of show what they did to the plane. So I thought it was just really cool to see history being made 100 years later. Well, almost 100 years later. So here's Amelia Earhart walking. There she is. Just making sure everything is ready to go for the long flight. And they're getting ready to start the plane. This is not exactly how they start planes anymore, is it? And there she goes. So, Amelia Earhart was a Kansan that helped shape the world. What is a Kansan? Someone from Kansas, right. How did Amelia Earhart help shape the world? right? She was the first woman to fly in many different things. She flew across the Atlantic. She had the altitude records. She held a lot of these things knowing that she could do anything she set her mind to. So she broke a lot of barriers for women, not only in Kansas, but across the world. So what we're going to do is learn about famous Kansans. I want us to write a 3-paragraph paper, and the way we're going to brainstorm for ideas to write this paper is by doing a KWL chart. So our know, want to know, and maybe some interesting facts that we learned through our research. These facts don't always have to be in our paragraph, but they might be some fun, interesting facts. So I'm doing Amelia Earhart, so I know that, or I know her name, so I'm going to put name, Amelia Earhart. Okay. I know where she was born. So, born, Atchison, Kansas. But you know what? I don't know what year she was born. So, I'm going to write over here so that I know to go and look for my research. What year was she born? Okay, and then I know for my research that we're going to break away to do, to look that up. Maybe I want to know if she has any siblings. We saw that she had one sister, but did she have more than that? So I'm going to write siblings. Now I can keep going down and thinking of all the things that I want to know. Okay? I did learn in that book that she was 23 years old when she first flew. And that wasn't her piloting, that was just her going up into the plane. So I might want to know, how old was she when she crossed the Atlantic? Okay, now, are we going to have a lot of information in our K about our people? No, probably not, because this is stuff we might know, but we're doing a research paper. So we're going to have a lot of things in our W column, our want to know. And then we're actually going to come back in a couple weeks and fill in our L. So you don't have to put anything in there today, but know that maybe as you're going through your research, you can jot down a few things. So, does anyone know any famous Kansans that we can maybe get some brainstorm ideas? Okay, we have Bob Dole, John Brown, Amelia Earhart, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Now, here's the thing with Dwight D. Eisenhower. Kansans like to call him a Kansan because he spent most of his life here in Kansas. So you guys might come across that the Kansan that you are studying or learning about is not actually born in Kansas, and that is okay. We have James Naismith and Gordon Parks are just a few. So what I want us to do is to break apart and find a famous Kansan that helped build and form a better Kansas and world. Thank you.